The U.S. Supreme Court recently delivered a ruling that upholds Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming care for minors. 26 other states have laws similar to the one in Tennessee. Washington is not among them, but the question moving forward, will the recent ruling have any impact on Washington state? I'm joined now by Erin Carr, Assistant Professor of Law at Seattle University. And Erin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for including me in this conversation.
So I wanted to read you a snippet of both sides and get you to weigh in on this. It was a 6-3 decision with Justice Sonia Sotomayor saying in part, by retreating from meaningful judicial review exactly where it matters most, the court abandons transgender children and their families to political whims. And then you had Chief Justice John Roberts, who issued the majority decision, saying in part, quote, this case carries with it the weight of fierce scientific and policy debates about the safety, efficacy, and propriety of medical treatments in an evolving field. And he also went on to say the voices in these debates raise sincere concerns. The implications for all are profound. So before we get to how this ruling on the Tennessee ban applies to our state or not, I wanted to ask if these justices could have been swayed not just by the more than 20 states now banning gender reassignment surgeries, but also a recent movement in European countries right now to restrict things like puberty blockers for kids. So behind the scenes, do justices take those things into consideration, or is it simply about whether or not Tennessee violated the equal protection guarantee of the Fourth Amendment?
So what was reflective in this disagreement between the dissent and the conservative majority in this case is whether the issue before the court is properly characterized as a constitutional issue as opposed to a policy issue. And the conservative majority viewed this as a policy issue. They did not characterize the challenge law as implicating a classification that is entitled to heightened protection by the Constitution or subject to a higher level of judicial review. And so in doing that, what they were able to do is essentially say states should be allowed to make these decisions. The dissent, in contrast, viewed this case as implicating cherished constitutional rights. They viewed this law as being motivated by a discriminatory intent against transgendered people. And so based on their assessment, this was a case that did entitle, in fact, demand the court to be much more judicious and protective of those constitutional rights.
So this ruling was based, again, on Tennessee's ban, and it's not specifically about Washington. So are there any impacts here? Because that's what people want to know.
Of course. So there aren't any immediate impacts. While the Supreme Court's recent ruling will likely allow the 27 other states that have adopted some form of restriction or limitations on gender-affirming care to remain in place, the decision is not going to directly impact states such as Washington that has not adopted these types of restrictions. Functionally, the effect of the court's decision is that it will empower states to determine what, if any, forms of gender-affirming medical treatment is available to youths living in their states, and will essentially create a patchwork of laws governing healthcare very similar to what emerged with respect to access to abortion care in the aftermath of the Dobbs decision.
Okay, so you're saying, in short, you know, we just have to wait and see if this does have some national implications here.
And I would expect that there will be national implications. So the fact that there aren't immediate consequences does not mean that legal protections for gender-affirming care in states such as Washington will not be at risk. And the reason for that is the legal reasoning in this case could very easily be applied and extended to provide legal cover to justify a national ban on gender-affirming care or to advance other anti-LGBTQ policies by this administration.
All right, so Assistant Professor Erin Carr, thank you for your time.
Thank you.